Well, when I met you, I was
2 years. How many?
two
Two
years
years ago
ago.
now.
Yep, 2 years ago. Um, I had just been. It was just kind of after the pandemic era, the vaccine mandate era, um, and I had been subjected to some pretty harsh lockdowns in Victoria, um, and then subjected to the mandates, and through making a decision that didn't follow along with the uh, what majority, my whole life basically had a breakdown. My relationship broke down, my friendships broke down, my living situation broke down, my work, my any idea of a career broke down. So I left that environment and became incredibly destructive. I was really angry. I was very insecure. I was very isolated, um, depressed, anxious, stressed, really stressed, and uh, feeling like the whole world's problems were my problems and I needed to fix everything. Um, so yeah, when I met you, I was fresh out of that situation, and yeah, in a very basically, I think about it as like I was at the point of giving up on myself and my life and people and society. I I don't think.
Can I just ask you something?
Yeah.
Were you happy before you made that decision in your life? So when you made the decision, which, as you say, caused essentially your whole life to turn to do a 180, before you had to make that decision, or you made that decision to not go along with what everybody was doing with regards to the rollouts and everything, were you happy before that? Did you think you were
I
happy?
thought I was happy. I didn't know how destructive deep down I was. I didn't know how anxious I was. I wasn't really paying much attention. And I think we've talked about it before in that, like, all the conditions of my ego were kind of met. So I was
Mm.
temporarily satisfied in this situation I was in. But I was living with so much guilt and shame and self hatred that deep down I wasn't happy. I was very insecure about my appearance. Yeah, like I look back now and I was being crushed and suffocated by myself, but I didn't
So
know
you
it
were
at the
normal.
time.
You were
Yeah,
normal.
that was normal. I didn't know it at the time. I had no idea. My friends would talk to me about anxiety, and I was like, oh, that's weird. But I had no idea I had anxiety until, yeah, I guess you get locked down for 18 months and you do have a lot of time to reflect on what's going on, and things become a lot clearer for you. Yeah, so I arrived in that state. I met you.
Praise the lockdown.
Oh, yeah. The catalyst for all the change, I guess. I met you when I was in that state, and firstly, what helped me was the physical side of it, like the kung fu. That's how
had you
I.
had you begin had were you spiritually inquiring before you met me?
Yes, but
I know the answer to some of these
yeah,
questions. It's just for the sake of the viewers to learn a bit more about you.
yes, I was. I was in lockdowns. But I didn't know the direction. I didn't know the truth. I
What were
was
you doing?
I was doing uh like spiritual coaching, mental health coaching. I started yoga, I got a PT, I went to a naturopath, went on all the supplements, started looking down like the health road, and nothing was helping my situation. Nothing was leading me to any kind of resolution. I felt better, but my whole environment around me was still quite toxic, and so that was kind of my initial inquiry. I guess like the manifestation side of things was definitely something, healing your inner child, reflecting on your trauma.
How long were you doing that before you came across me?
Well, I did that for about, I guess, about a year in the lockdowns, and then I actually went to Canberra to protest, the mandates and the
Canberra's the
lockdowns
capital city of.
of
Is it the capital
The
city?
Australian Capital Territory, isn't it?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Ooh,
Which
yeah,
is where like Parliament is, yeah?
where Parliament is. Yeah, so I was camped out essentially on Parliament lawn. This is where the self-destructive situation comes in, and there I was dealing with a lot of people that were spiritual.
You were having a grand old time.
Yeah, doing a lot of psychedelic drugs and things like that. And so that was my experience of spirituality. There was no meditation, there was no peace, there was no stillness. Uh, it was
The very opposite.
chaos. So yeah, and then I met you, and I firstly connected with the physical side of things. So the Kung Fu was the first time that I had felt powerful and capable and confident. I'll cry. Um, and then yeah, I just connected with that, and then connected more with you.
You say
And
you just connected with that? Sorry, it sounded like you said you disconnected with that.
no, I connected with the physical first. So the physical helped me feel capable again. It helped me feel confident again. Um, it gave me something to do instead of just being caught up in my thoughts. Um, but yeah, I think I mentioned before, I was just at a point of giving up on everything. I never really contemplated suicide, but I didn't want to move. I just wanted to lay in bed and rot, essentially.
So you
So
were deeply depressed.
deeply depressed. Uh, I didn't know how depressed. The more time goes on, the more I see how depressed I was. Um, Now I deal. So the mystical mental health. How has the meditation helped that? Well,
How has your mental health developed over the last couple of years?
okay. Well, I can identify it. I can identify that that is anxiety, that that is depression kicking in, that I'm overthinking, that I'm stressed. So, firstly, being able to identify it, because before all of this, I never, yeah, as I said, I never even knew I was depressed. I didn't know I was self destructive. I didn't know I was anxious. Um, the mystical mental health, how has it developed? Yeah, so I can identify it now. I know that it's not me. I know that it's not real. I know that it's just the contents of my brain and the programming of my brain, the function of my brain
How have you come to identify that?
through meditation. So, uh,
How has it helped? What what have you been doing with your meditation that has helped you to identify that that's kind of almost a separate process that's going on inside of you?
so if I'm sitting there and I'm anxious and I'm thinking about something in the future that's really stressing me out, and then I lay down to meditate and I can watch that thing, worrying about that thing, and I can see that right now in this present moment, it doesn't actually exist. It's not even happened yet. It's just a line or train of thought that's occurring in my brain. Uh, and also the fact that it's, yeah, it doesn't feel like your brain when you're meditating is the only thing there. There's something else there watching your thoughts. So if there's something there that is watching your thoughts or observing your thoughts, then how can your thoughts be real? How can they be the main contents of what you are?
So that's a good question, and that would you say that's the question you're kind of sitting with at the moment? Is this initial realization that there's a process going on of thinking which has the anxiety and the identity in it, but it's almost like you're now starting to detect something other, but you're unfamiliar with what that is, or are you getting to know that?
I'm getting to know that, but I am still unfamiliar with what that is. But I can sense that there's something much bigger. Can, I have brief moments of where everything just kind of levels out and I feel peace, and I start to feel my own energy and that sort of stuff.
And that's new for you?
Yeah, new for me.
And
Yes,
as in how new?
as in
A few
a
months?
few months. Yeah.
So that's interesting, isn't it? You've been doing this with me for 2 years, very closely too.
We live together, yeah.
Yeah, and we have lived together for the duration of that 2 year period, and it's taken. You've gone through a process up to this point where over the last few months, you've had a real deepening.
Mm-hmm.
And just a little note. I know throughout this journey you've experienced a lot of self-doubt, right?
Yes.
The doubt in your ability to even do this, or to, you said once to me, like, enlightenment, like, why me? Why would I deserve that? Like, who am I? Like, I'm no one or nothing. You have this interpretation that enlightenment is only for a certain few people. So you have to be born in some weird place in the world and go through various, I don't know, whatever. You held enlightenment up on some kind of pedestal.
I hadn't even heard of enlightenment until I met you. I was on this journey of seeking the truth, and I hadn't even heard of enlightenment until I met you.
You'd
So
heard of awakening, though?
I'd heard of awakening, yeah. But yeah, to think of this term enlightenment, yeah, why me? How would I? Why would that happen to me?
Sure. So it's taken you. The only reason I bring that up is because over the last few months, you've started to really penetrate what we call mystical experience, which can essentially be understood as a level of your experience which is much more deeply connected to the truth of reality, the truth of life.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes it mystical. Also, it tends to be very different to what you've normally been operating in throughout the day. So in your life up to now, you've been operating and experiencing life a certain way, and then you start to have these experiences which just takes you into like a new dimension of your own being. So it's very important, to note that it's taken all of this time of effort, cultivation, consciousness, applying yourself, doing your disciplines, self-inquiry, awareness, cultivation, in order to access this level of realization that you have. So I just wanted to emphasize that for people to understand, well, one, the importance of determination, the danger of the ego. You got to watch out for that thing. It'll try to stop you, put you off, make you fearful, make you doubt. It uses all sorts of methods and techniques to try to survive and stop you from making progress. At the same time, the patience. Don't want to get there quickly. Don't try to rush it. Don't expect to be having deep mystical experiences in a month, although some people will.
Mm-hmm.
Stick with it. Keep going.
Yeah.
All right. So getting back to you, your mystical mental health. How are you going now? How's it all going for you? How do you feel about your mental health and your prospects here and your potential and your lifestyle? And
Yeah, worlds apart. I'm able to uh interact with my life in a more relaxed manner. I'm able to dismiss my anxiety and recognize that it's not real. Um, yeah, I'm just able to live with a lot more relaxation and peace and approach things from a much more relaxed and peaceful point of view rather than a stressful, anxious, overthinking point of view. Um, but I still do get very caught up. I can get very caught up, and I notice that it gets more caught up when I'm more involved in the world and with other people, and when I've got a lot going on. But when I lose my practice, when there's so much going on that I lose my practice, my mental health starts to fall into a bit of a pit again. So it's maintenance essentially. You've got to keep maintaining it.